gratitude. Look, when people visit you, you do not take them to your bedroom. You take them to your TV lounge, sitting area, living room. But when somebody is so close to you, then they can roam about in the entire house, even in the bedroom. In a similar way, there are common people and there are Sufis. A Sufi is special. What God gives to a common people, if God gives Sufi the same stuff, Sufis doesn't appreciate it for a reason. This is something that does not involve gratitude. It is free. It is given to even those people who do not believe in God. Some of the things come from God to everybody. And God does not expect people to show gratitude. For example, water. How many times in our life have we been grateful to God for giving us water? Do we pay our gratitude to God because He provided us with water? Do we? It's common, isn't it? It's common. Sunlight. There is no life without sunlight. No light. No life at all. How many times a day do we thank God for having sun? We don't, because it's a common thing. A Sufi pays his gratitude to God for the bounty which is not shared by the common people. One day, Hafiz Nadeem, when he was pretty young, in the olden days, maybe 35 years ago, he was eating food with Sarkar. And we have this culture in Pakistan. After food, we may, Alhamdulillah, and we, rub our face, like making dua, Alhamdulillah, you gave us food. So he did the same thing. So when he finished his food, he said, Alhamdulillah, Allah tera shukr hai, Alhamdulillah. And Sarkar said to him, we don't pay gratitude to God easily. And Sarkar said, if you pay gratitude to God, God will think He is happy in this. Stop further bounties. सरकार ने कहा कि तू दाल रोटी के ऊपर ही शुक्रिया अदा करने लग गया, तो फिर अल्लाह समझेगा कि बस तू इसी में खुश है. क्यों जी? अल्लाह समझेगा तू इसी में खुश है. तो सरकार ने फरमाया, हम तो नहीं करते, हम तो नहीं करते, सबको देता है. So a genuine gratitude, when you have something really extraordinary given to you by God, then naturally the gratitude will come from the core of the heart. When something special is given to you, if you make a habit of showcasing your fake emotions for God, God will get weary and sick and tired of such duas. All the time he's making dua and say, God, thank you, thank you. He doesn't mean it. So when something special is granted to you by God, then the real, genuine gratitude will spring out of your breast. Not before that. So we need to have a true sense of gratitude. Number one, if you have acquired anything, do not attribute it to God, because you do not know whether you acquired through lawful or unlawful ways, or whether it was given to you by God or it was interfered by the devil. And then having a true sense of gratitude. What is a true sense of gratitude? Something that comes from God and it is gifted to everybody without discrimination, on such a bounty, on such necessities of life. God doesn't expect gratitude from you because He has given it to everybody. When He gives you something extraordinary, which even thousands of people will not obtain, then that is the time when God expects gratitude from you. You go to a mosque or a temple and you offer your servitude to God. You do puja, part, and you offer salat, and you mention God's name in the churches and the temples and the mosques, and you attribute this to God. Alhamdulillah, I offer salat 5 times a day. It is nothing but Allah's favor. Then what about this? فَوَيْلٌ لِّلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. Those worshippers who are not aware of the spirit of the worship, they will be destroyed. How can you attribute your salat to God when God is throwing your salat back at your face? How can you attribute this act of worship to God and you declare it God's bounty when your worship was without the presence of the heart? How can you attribute an act of worship which was not performed with sincerity of the heart? And the goal was to show off to people for point scoring. Look, I'm so religious. I'm so pure. This is just point scoring. This is just a show off. An act of show off from you. And you attribute it to God's bounty. Whew. It is next to rejecting God's presence, God's existence. So before you even attribute any act of achievement to God, you must make sure that it was done like a favor by God. If you're not sure, keep quiet. Don't say it. Now, what if it was from God? Are you telling us we should not be grateful to God? Let me tell you. When something special is granted to you by God, honest to God, gratitude will come from your heart without even you knowing about it. It is so natural. Right? It is so natural when something extraordinary is gifted to you by God. The gratitude, the genuine gratitude will be unstoppable by your mouth. It will manifest through your body, through your character. Your entire body will be revealing the bounty of God. Your entire body will be paying attributes, will be paying gratitude to God. So, before we pay our gratitude to God, we need to have a true sense of gratitude. Whether it is a gift of God or it's not from God. I'm trying my hardest to make these things clear because, in all these religions, people have become really habitual of attributing anything to God. God has given him this, and look at me, I have nothing. In life, their failures make them non-believers in God. They fail in life due to their own mistakes, their own flaws, their own errors. But they become so frustrated that they attribute their failures to God. We need to understand. When something goes wrong, keep your mouth shut. Do not attribute this failure to God. And when you acquire something, keep your mouth shut. Do not attribute this achievement to God, because we don't know. How did it come by? Who is the sponsor of this favor? Who is the originator of this favor? Usman Ghani, a companion of the Prophet, was a very well-off man. He was a very rich man. And Prophet Muhammad himself wasn't a rich man. Is there any Muslim who can tell me God was so merciful and bountiful upon the companion of Prophet Muhammad, Usman Ghani, but God wasn't merciful and bountiful upon Prophet Muhammad? Then why do you call this richness as a bounty of God? This is not a bounty of God. Bounty of God is the richness of the heart, enlightenment of the heart. God's treasure doesn't contain dollars and pounds and gold and silver. God's treasure contains love. Once Sarkar was telling me about a hadith. Sarkar said there is a hadith that there is a treasure which is buried under the black cubicle of Kaaba in Mecca, in Masjidul Haram. And it is buried underneath the black cubicle. And according to the hadith, Imam Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam would recover that treasure and give this treasure away to all Muslims. Sarkar said, this is not a treasure that contains money. This is a treasure of the heart, treasure of love of God. If God valued this money and material wealth so much, why the Prophet of God was on a hunger strike for 3 days non-stop? Sometimes he wouldn't eat any food for 3 days, the Prophet. Why he did not grant this bounty, this material wealth to his beloved Prophet? Which means, in the eyes of God, material wealth has no value. So if you are grateful to God, because yesterday your salary was 500 and today it's 1,000 pounds, and you say, Sarkar's karam, maybe you will lose your faith. Maybe you're infuriating God. Don't do that. Do not attribute to God about the origin of which you are not sure. So as a Sufi, we need this sense of appreciation, and we have to keep it fresh. If you did something good for me 10 years ago, it should always be fresh in my mind, so that when you do something wrong, the freshness of appreciation of the favor that you have done to me should make me understand, oh, he did something good for me. Let me forget what wrong he did today. This is why we need the freshness of appreciation. And then after appreciation, which is obviously for men between men and men and God, is called gratitude. But we need to have a true sense of gratitude. And you have acquired something bad and you attribute it to God. You think God will be happy? God is not going to be happy. Because God hasn't done any favors on you. You have done something wrong. According to your understanding, this is good for you. But later on, it turned out to be bad for you. Now, are you going to swallow your words back that it was God's bounty? Because later on, if it turns out to be bad, now what will you do to the statement that you made? The gratitude that you offer to God. It was bad. So do not attribute anything to God when you have acquired something, an act of achievement, right? Do not say anything like, oh, I did it. No. Yeah, it happened, yes. It happened. I don't know whether I did it or it's God's favor. Who knows? Let's just celebrate. So freshness of appreciation, and then true sense of gratitude. It's just one point, 2 aspects.
TV, bringing light, love, and peace in your life.